You're not angry at the car in front of you. You're angry it's proof you never had the nerve to pass. You've spent your whole life running the numbers on why the lane wasn't worth taking, and calling that patience. It was never patience. You just needed something out there to blame. 7:52 on a Tuesday morning. A man in a gray sedan holding steady at 58 miles an hour in the passing lane, the lane built for passing no one. There's a cold coffee in the cup holder, a receipt curling against the lid like it's trying to escape. The turn signal is ticking. He switched it on a while ago and never used it. Nobody's listening to it but him. You know that feeling? When the fix is right there, one small motion away, and instead of taking it, you just sit in it? That's the moment we're looking at. Not a crisis, not a catastrophe. A slow car, an open lane, and a man who has already decided, without deciding anything, that he will do absolutely nothing about it. This isn't a story about traffic. It's a case study, and the subject doesn't know he's being watched. The sedan ahead settles into a speed a few miles under the limit, and something in his chest tightens like a slow-loading progress bar. The right lane is open. The road ahead of the other car is clear. All he has to do is signal, move over, accelerate, and slide back in. 11 seconds of work. He does none of it. Instead, he opens the spreadsheet in his head. Passing now saves him maybe a minute, call it 90 seconds optimistically. But merging right means he'll have to re-merge left, which is 2 maneuvers, which is, in his words, risk exposure. He turns the radio volume down 2 notches, then back up 1, like the report might contain a variable he's missing. Watch him build the case for his own paralysis. It's not worth the maneuver, he tells himself, verbatim. I'll just lose the time I'd gain. And the loop tightens from there. Because now he's ranking every option against every other option. And the beautiful, terrible thing about the math is that the more carefully he runs it, the more every single move costs exactly the same. Which is the point. Which was always the point. He has a 9-minute cushion. He is not going to be late. He has never once in his entire life been late because of another driver, and some quiet part of him knows it. The engine grinds. The wedding ring taps the wheel, once, twice. He watches the bumper ahead of him like it's a screen he's waiting to refresh. And he keeps his foot exactly where it is. So here's the story he'd tell you if you asked him with his hands at 10 and 2. He'd say he's the reasonable one, the disciplined driver, the adult in the equation who doesn't weave through traffic like some kid late for a shift, darting lane to lane to gain 40 seconds and a speeding ticket. He ran the trade-off. He concluded that patience was the optimal play. And honestly, it sounds airtight. It sounds like maturity. It sounds like a man who finally learned to pick his battles, who knows that not every open lane is worth the merge. You almost believe him. He almost believes him. That's the whole trick. Because here's what the math conveniently leaves out. Staying trapped behind that slow car buys him something he needs more than the 90 seconds. It means the reason he isn't moving forward is out there, on the asphalt, in another man's brake lights, and never, ever in him. As long as somebody else is blocking the lane, he never has to find out if he could actually make the pass. Think about that. The slow car isn't the problem. The slow car is the alibi. Because the thing he's really dodging, the thing his stillness lets him sidestep at 58 miles an hour, is one unbearable question. What if the lane was always open, and he simply never had the nerve to take it? And you do this too. You call it waiting for the right time. You've been waiting your whole life. Now watch the loop close, because this is the ugly part. Every mile he idles behind incompetence he didn't choose is another data point confirming the master file. The one that says his flat career, his stalled trajectory, the projects he never launched, none of it was on him. It was the traffic. It was always the traffic. And that file is the only thing standing between him and the apology, the one he owes the guy he used to be at 28, the one who still thought the lane would open. Here's the cost he's already paid, in concrete numbers, because he loves numbers. 20 years. 20 years of open lanes he watched close, one merge at a time, each one filed under not worth the risk exposure. A promotion he didn't ask for. A business he sketched on a napkin and never opened. Rooms he stood at the edge of. And the sick joke, the punchline his own logic has been building toward for 2 decades, is that he became the slow driver. He is the guy someone behind him is cursing right now. He just got very, very good at blaming the car in front. So run the audit. 3 options on the board, and he'll price every one of them before the exit sign, because pricing them is the only thing that ever moves. Option 1. He checks the mirror, flicks the signal he already turned on, drops into the open right lane, buries the pedal, glides past the slow sedan, and remerges left in front of it. 11 seconds, start to finish. The external ticket, closed. And for those first 11 seconds, there'd be a clean rush of it. Open road, an empty windshield, the small electric proof that he could, that the lane was passable, that his hands still knew how. But here's the invoice that arrives the second the rush fades, and it never stops arriving. Once he knows the lane was open, he can never blame the traffic again. Every stalled thing in his life relists itself as a line item he authorized. The promotion, the napkin business, the 20 years. All reclassified from circumstance to choice. He'd tell himself this was only ever about the commute. That's the fiction he'd need, because the alternative is admitting the audit was never about the road. And the one who eats that cost is the kid he used to be, who finally gets the answer to the one question 2 decades of careful math were built to avoid. Option 2 is safer. He holds the lane, and when traffic bunches up ahead, he opens the voice memo app and logs it. The plate, the make, the estimated time lost, time-stamped, clean, building the case file. And the high on that one is intoxicating, honestly, because now he's right. Documented. The world really is in his way, and he's got the evidence to prove it. But the delayed cost compounds like bad interest, because the archive doesn't stay small, it grows. Every slow driver, every blocked lane, every man in front becomes another entry, until the folder stops being a record and becomes the entire explanation for his life. He calls this being thorough. That's the lie, thoroughness, a word that lets a man mistake bookkeeping for living. And the one who pays is Robert himself, who trades a real shot at open road for a beautifully organized folder proving exactly why he never took it. Or, and this is the one his hands are already voting for, he eases off, lets a 2-car gap yawn open, settles into a nice, safe following distance, and decides the whole thing was never worth the calculation in the first place. The payoff is instant. The quiet of a decision made, the sweet relief of no longer having to want anything. But surrender practiced daily doesn't stay a choice. It hardens into the shape of a man, and the driver who stops trying to pass eventually stops seeing that there was ever a lane at all. He'd call that peace. Peace. As if numbness and acceptance ever filed under the same code. And the ones who quietly cover this invoice aren't strangers on the interstate. They're Lisa and the kids. The ones he left sleeping this morning, who keep getting the version of him that already parked years ago, long before the engine ever turned over. He lifts his foot off the gas, checks the right mirror, and puts it back down without moving an inch. He mouths the exit number to himself as the gap in the right lane slides shut. The slow car's brake lights flare red, and he holds his position, foot hovering, ring tapping the wheel, deciding nothing. And somewhere under the ribs, so quiet he can pretend he doesn't hear it, is the frantic little apology to a younger man who genuinely believed the lane would still be open when he finally worked up the nerve. The signal is still ticking. The audit is complete. The lane is still open. For now. Which cost are you paying?